Do you feel like with the, if we want to call them haram police or people who maybe just overstep where they're supposed to be speaking, do you feel those people at all ever like kind of pushed you away from Islam, where you kind of built like a little bit like their ignorance would bother you because they're Muslim, you think they shouldn't act that way?
Yeah, I mean, at first, I sort of internalized it, and I thought of myself as like again, like not good enough. Eventually, it became kind of an irritation, and I think the stronger that I became as a Muslim, the more research that I did, the more confident I was in my knowledge of Islam, the more I realized, well, haram policing is haram. you know, you can't really discern what's in someone's heart by their appearance.
Mhm.
By talking the way they talk, looking the way they look, and I saw a lot of it as cultural too. I don't come from the culture, I don't come from the tradition. I was not raised in a Muslim family, so of course I don't have the mannerisms. I don't have, racially, obviously, I tend to depart from the norm. I'm not sort of Arab coded, if you will, and so, but I felt that I had this firm grasp that I hadn't before. And so I was like, no, I think this is where culture and religion deviate. And so I was able to be stronger in the face of that. Yeah.
What was that line? Because I think it's really important what you said, actually. We have a lot of people who are cultural Muslims,
Hmm.
right? Who are following this heap of culture that has
Hmm.
nothing to do with Islam. You get like the most basic of things. I remember I filmed a video when I was turning my bedroom into a mosque, and I was like holding a Quran and speaking with it.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to wave the Quran, right? I left the Quran open at one point. They're like, you must close the Quran because Shaitan is going to come read from your Quran. I'm like, guys, present me some evidence, please. Otherwise, pipe down. So for you, how did you draw that line of knowing, okay, this is clearly not Islam and this is Islam?
It was a lot of research, and alhamdulillah that I happen to love research. I'm constantly going down rabbit holes on any subject that fascinates me. And so, the more that I was harassed, the more that I would sort of like look up, well, what basis does this have actually? And what I realized is that like their harassment, their nitpicking, their bullying was actually a major sin. It's
Mhm.
considered a major sin in Islam. Not just discerning from appearance what might be, that person's iman or level of taqwa or whatever, but the slandering, the sort of backbiting, the partnering oneself with Allah, in this judgment, because sometimes it would get to that point, where it was like at least borderline shirk. And so that gave me enough confidence to withstand that and to kind of push back on it. And at this point, I've had so much experience, almost on a daily basis. And really, the complaints that I get are the same. It's like there's maybe like 10 that are recycled, and I'm like, yep, heard it. Yep, heard it. And so it doesn't bother me so much anymore. And it is a lot of like culture. It's a lot. There's a shame that permeates Muslim culture that gets projected, and sort of this scrupulosity, I suppose. It's kind of like a religious OCD where it's like this kind of obsessive compulsive need to correct. I hear a lot. People will quote the hadith. Well, we're supposed to enjoin what is good and forbid what is wrong. This is our duty. Sure, it is. It is our obligation to do that. But if you look at that hadith, if you look at the wording, it's meant to signify injustice. Okay, so corruption in society, harm and abuses, tyranny. That's what we're supposed to be forbidding. We're not supposed to
Mhm.
necessarily be forbidding what is between one believer and Allah. That's up to Allah. So it's like we're kind of doing Allah's job if we're intervening in that. But in terms of like as a collective caring for the welfare of others, yeah, that's our obligation. Because we are Khalifa, right? We are stewards. We're stewards of the earth, of non human life, of each other. People have rights over us. People have rights over us. And so everyone we meet, the homeless man on the street, the neighbor, the orphan, they all have rights over us. And so we have to kind of keep that in mind, and be as kind to them and as compassionate, and to sort of take care of them and make sure that they're not being harmed, and certainly not by us, because justice is a pretty big obligation in Islam, and it's important to look at ourselves first.